Let us all remain standing. Let us all remain standing for the national anthem.
गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Please join me in welcoming our student managers to the stage for a special song performance.
शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी तुम भूल न जाओ उनको इसलिए सुनो ये कहानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जब घायल हुआ हिमालय खतरे में पड़ी आजादी जब तक थी सांस लड़े वो जब तक थी सांस लड़े वो फिर अपनी लाश बिछा दी संगीन पे धर करना था सो गए अमर बलिदानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जब सरकशी का परचम लहरा दो, गर्दिश में थे अपनी सरजमीं का परचम लहरा दो, लहरा दो, लहरा दो, सरकशी का परचम लहरा दो, गर्दिश में फिर अपनी सरजमीं का परचम लहरा दो। हाथ भर के बातों से क्या भला कुछ होता है, हाथ भर के बातों से क्या भला कुछ होता है, जाल तीरों को दिखाकर जोर बाजू होता है, जाल तीरों को दिखाकर जोर बाजू होता है, हिम्मत नहीं दागर हो संखुदा भी होता है, हिम्मत नहीं दागर हो संखुदा भी होता है, लहरा दो, लहरा दो, सरकशी का परचम लहरा दो, गर्दिश में फिर अपनी सरजमीं का परचम लहरा दो, लहरा दो, लहरा दो, सरकशी का परचम लहरा दो, गर्दिश में फिर अपनी सरजमीं का परचम लहरा दो। जीना 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 रे उड़ा गुलाल, मैं पर चुनरिया लहराई, जीना 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 रे उड़ा गुलाल, मैं पर चुनरिया लहराई,
रंग तेरी रीत का, रंग तेरी प्रीत का, रंग तेरी जीत का है, लाई लाई लाई, रंग तेरी रीत का, रंग तेरी प्रीत का,
मैं तेरी चुनरिया लहराई, जब जब मुझ पे है उठा सवार, मैं तेरी चुनरिया लहराई, जीना जीना रे उड़ा गुलाल, मैं तेरी चुनरिया लहराई, जीना जीना रे उड़ा गुलाल, मैं तेरी चुनरिया लहराई। जय हिंद।
Thank you. Your rendition of the patriotic song was truly inspiring.
Bravery is not the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome it.
Today, we gather to commemorate a pivotal moment in our nation's history, the Silver Jubilee of the Kargil War. 25 years ago, our brave soldiers stood unwaveringly against adversity, defending our borders with unparalleled valor and determination. It is a privilege to stand before you and reflect on the sacrifices made, the courage displayed, and the unity that defined that challenging period. The Kargil War of 1999 is a testament to the resilience of our armed forces and the unbreakable spirit of our nation. In the face of treacherous terrain and adverse conditions, our soldiers displayed unparalleled bravery, risking their lives to protect our sovereignty. Their selfless devotion and unwavering commitment to duty serve as shining example to us all. Today, as we pay tribute to our brave soldiers, let us pledge to uphold their legacy of courage, sacrifice, and patriotism.
It is an honor and privilege to have Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan, PVSM, AVSM, YSM, SM, VSM, retired Distinguished Fellow, Claus Delhi, in our midst. The General was commissioned into the Indian Army 11 Gorkha Rifles in December 1979. Prior to his appointment as the DGAR, the General had commanded one corps, Indian Army's oldest and largest strike corps, the 8th Mountain Division in Western Ladakh and 70 Mountain Brigade, both in Shokin in South Kashmir and in Eastern Ladakh. The bravery and sacrifice of soldiers like Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan sir exemplifies the spirit of the Indian Army and continues to inspire generations.
With great pleasure, we extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of Sri Balaji University Pune. I, Abhishek Chaudhary,
And I, Shakaina Ezekiel, Student Manager at Balaji Institute of Technology and Management, will be the Masters of Ceremony for today. We would like to extend our greetings to our Chancellor, Sri Balaji University Pune, Professor Paramanandan Balasubramanian Sir, Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. G.K. Shirude Sir, and all the Senior Directors, Directors and Deputy Directors, Research Heads, Faculty Members, and to all our Student Managers.
Discipline, dedication, determination are the three values on which Sri Balaji University Pune provides career-specific contemporary education with a strong emphasis on practical training and overall development of the students.
The prestigious Times of India B-School Survey has ranked Sri Balaji University Pune as top 12 B-schools in India and ranked top 4 among private universities. On this gracious occasion, we fondly remember our founder, late Professor Dr. Colonel A. Balasubramanian Sir, for his vision to impart quality education to the youth of our country.
May I now request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. G.K. Shirude Sir, to felicitate our guest of honor. I now request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. G.K. Shirude Sir, to give the welcome speech.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Voice of Sri Balaji University Pune. It is like this. As it has been very specifically mentioned that Sri Balaji University Pune stands on principles of 3D. Today we are having Dr. Lieutenant General Doctor, I will say Doctor, and renowned author Shokin Chauhan. Sirji, a very warm welcome in the Sri Balaji University Pune campus. While having a cup of tea with him in the boardroom, he has shared n number of things, whatever he did so far. Apart from odds he is going to talk with you regarding national security. But the remaining part which is more attracting, and that is, he was an instructor at NDA, and in that time, maybe 1986, may I write, sir? 1986, he met our Bala sir at Symbiosis. And from 1986, he knows Professor Colonel Dr. A. Balasubramanian. And whenever he talked about the Balasar, we remember everything. Since 1985, I was associated with Symbiosis as a visiting faculty. And then director was also a very rosy person. And the director itself was known as the director of SIBM. And SIBM was the only institution in those days providing the MBA, MPM, and the other diploma programs as far as Pune University affiliation is concerned. Not only the instructor at NDA, this instructor position means in university we called it as assistant professor. Senior instructor means associate professor. May I write, Chauhan ji? See, assistant to associate to professor and then reaching at a height, even in respect of defense, and then reaching as far as all the winning positions are concerned, and still even today are very lean to this beautiful earth. This is what a great people, they are having their salient features. Now the most important part which I would like to share with you, and that is, he did his doctorate, and the topic was also very interesting, and that is Indian-Nepal strategic relation of 21st century in 1921. It was awarded in 1921, and his interest in respect of academics, particularly studies, he has not only got the doctoral degree, but today he is an approved research guide in his domain area. And that is the most important part while continuing the education is concerned. And at present, 4 research scholars are doing research under his able, efficient leadership. And besides that, he has also published one book, and it was published on 21st May 24. And the title of the book is Bridging Borders, India-Nepal Relationship in Changing Geographical Landscape. So all these different topics, they are directly related with, ये फौजी आदमी जो होते हैं ना, फौजी आदमी के दिल में जो होता है वही रिफ्लेक्ट होता है बुक में, वही रिफ्लेक्ट होता है इन रिसर्च ऑल्सो. सो शौकीन जी, द नाम इटसेल्फ रिफ्लेक्ट्स ऑन अलग अलग different type of the interest in different areas. And even today, at this age, he is very alert in respect of reading, listening to his research scholars, and we being the very digital sound today, he is also saying that AI is also giving us certain support but creating confusion also. Sometimes this is very apparent approach as far as the knowledge is concerned, but in depth a student can study only when he can refer and have a very constructive dialogue with the research supervisors. Sir, once again a very warm welcome to you in Shri Balaji University, Pune. This is the first time which he has visited, and we always consider, we always hope, and we always create a relationship that is a long life, long lasting relationship. This is not only the first time, you have to come every year to guide our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It brings us great pride to introduce to you, sir, the Gokul Consultancy Project, a team from Sri Balaji University recently completed a research and consultancy project on mapping consumer preferences. This was also assisted by a team of 20 students from the entire SBUP. May I now request Dr. Nutan Samnani ma'am, Associate Professor, Research and Development Cell, to give a brief about Gokul Consultancy Project.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. It's a privilege to present the report in front of such an esteemed guest and all of you. So I would like to present the brief report about the research and consultancy project completed by our scholarly faculty members for Kolhapur Jilla Sahakari Dudh Utpadak Sangh Limited, familiarly known as Gokul. The research and consultancy project was conducted on mapping consumer preferences, a diagnostic study of cow milk sales in Pimpri Chinchwad, that is PCMC region. Gokul was facing a fierce competition for its cow milk from its rival brands. To get deeper insights into the challenge and find solutions for the same, the marketing team from Gokul approached the project lead, Dr. Manisha Paliwal, who is the deputy head of the Research and Development Cell and also head of Shrujan Entrepreneurship and Incubation Center of SBUP. Along with Dr. Manisha Paliwal, team of 5 faculty members handled the entire planning and project together with 20 students. The faculty team included Dr. Sanjeet Kumar Dash, Director BITM, Dr. Kapil Chaturvedi, Associate Professor BIMM, Dr. Atul Fegde, Senior Assistant BIMM, Dr. Sonali Malevar, Senior Assistant Professor BIIB, and Dr. Amar Yedke, Assistant Professor BIMHRD. The faculty and student teams had an opportunity to visit the Kolhapur plant of Gokul and interact with the Gokul team to understand more about it. The research work included a detailed survey of 500 consumers and 110 retailers, along with in-depth interviews of dealers and sub-dealers. So you can understand the exhaustiveness of the project. Recently, the entire research work and its report were presented in front of Gokul's team, which included the chairman, managing director, marketing AGM, and other team members. Further, the SBUP team was also invited to present the findings in front of the board of directors of Gokul during the Gokul dealers meeting, which was held in Pune. The project was well appreciated by the Gokul team, and they have extended an invitation to our SBUP team to train their employees and assist them in implementing the suggestions given to them. So this is a great achievement for all of us. So I think this needs a round of applause for all of them. Thank you for the patient listening. And before I take your leave, I would like to congratulate the entire team for their accomplishment and offer the best wishes for their forthcoming initiatives. Thank you and good day to all.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request our guest of honor, Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan sir, to release the Gokul Consultancy Project.
Thank you, sir. May I now please request you once again to please felicitate our dear faculty team members of the Gokul consultancy project. To start with, may we please have with us Dr. Manisha Paliwal ma'am, Deputy Head of Research and Development Cell, Head Srujan, Entrepreneurship Development and Incubation Center, SBUP, who provided insightful solutions. Next with us we have Dr. Sanjeet Kumar Das, Director, Balaji Institute of Technology and Management, Sri Balaji University, Pune. Dr. Kapil Chaturvedi, Associate Professor, BIMM, SBUP. Dr. Sonali Malivar, Senior Assistant Professor, BIIB, SBUP. Dr. Amar Yedke Sir, Assistant Professor, BIMHRD, SBUP.
With immense pride and respect, we would like to showcase the DDSS logo.
यस सर किधर है
यहाँ कौन सा क्लिक करना पड़ेगा आप बताओ. बंद करो अभी. रुको ना. अरे आ गया फिर क्या.
कहाँ क्लिक करें?
Crosswords represents the army, anchor represents the navy, golden wings represent the air force, pen nib at the center of the anchor represents the academics. May I now request our student manager, Miss Lavisha Samnani, to introduce our guest.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Lavisha Samnani, student manager at Balaji Institute of Technology and Management, Sri Balaji University, Pune. I am honored and privileged to introduce our esteemed guest today, Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan, PVSM, AVSM, YSM, SM, VSM, retired, is an alumnus of St. Columba's High School, New Delhi, the National Defense Academy, Defense Service Staff College, the Army War College, and the prestigious National Defense College. Sir was commissioned into the Indian Army, 11th Gorkha Rifles, in December 1979. Prior to his appointment as the Director General of Assam Rifles, Sir has commanded 1st Corps, Indian Army's oldest and largest strike corps, the 8th Mountain Division in the Western Ladakh, and 17th Mountain Brigade, both in Sopian in South Kashmir and in Eastern Ladakh. In 1984, Sir served as a young officer, led a detachment of ski troopers on the Siachen Glacier. Sir has vast experience in the conduct of counter-terrorist operations in Kashmir Valley and Northeast, both at the tactical and strategic level. He was awarded a PhD from the Punjab University, Chandigarh, for his thesis, India-Nepal Strategic Relations in the 21st Century, which was highly acclaimed by the university. Sir has served at apex level in both the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Home and Fields of Defense, counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism, border guarding, and human resource management. He also has a vast experience in military diplomacy since he was the defense attaché in Indian Embassy in Nepal for 3.5 years. Sir has represented India as well as led a large number of Indian military delegations to various international military firms like United States Pacific Command, Hawaii, Israel, Italy, South Africa, Botswana, China, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. He regularly contributes articles in various scholarly magazines and in an acclaimed important voice on India's strategic neighborhood. He is a constant invitee and speaker at seminars and leadership forums internationally and well as in important strategic institutions, including the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis, the National Defense College, the Defense Services Staff College, the Armory War College, the Officers Training Academy, the Armed Corps Center and School, the Military Intelligence School, United Service Institute, the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, the India Foundation, Chanakya Institute, the National Security Guard, and a host of other important strategic firms. Sir has been awarded 5 presidential awards: Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Yudh Seva Medal, Sena Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal. His service and outstanding leadership and gallantry in both operations and direct distinguished service in India and abroad. We are indeed fortunate to have such an accomplished and inspiring individual with us today. Let us warmly welcome our guest with a huge round of applause. Sir, the stage is all yours. Thank you. And Jai Hind.
नहीं नहीं आप ऊपर इसको माइनस कर दीजिए, एक और खोलना चाहता हूँ। कर दीजिए। एक मिनट, एक ठीक है। Vice Chancellor, faculty members and students of the Balaji University, I am indeed honored by this gesture of calling me as a speaker and to meet you all on a very important day, the Kargil Vijay Diwas. As your narrator read out, I commanded 8th Mountain Division. That is the division that is today in Kargil and was responsible for the victory in Kargil in 1999. It was my greatest honor to meet the heroes, pay homage to those who sacrificed their life for our country, and to see the valor and bravery of these young officers, young men, young soldiers. It was amazing. It was not something a normal human being could do. But it was the Indian Army, and the Indian Army does things that are not normal, but extremely difficult situations. So please join me in paying homage to us, our soldiers, by standing up and clapping for them. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. Please sit down. I will now take 2.5 minutes. There is a small video which was sent to me by the division in Kargil, just so that you get an idea of what warfare was all about and how difficult the war that we fought in 1999. कर दीजिए।
Thank you. Can you all hear me? It is my privilege, as I said, to speak to you all, and I love speaking to young people. All those years that you have ahead of you are the years that I have behind me. I am now 66 and a half years old. I've been in the Indian Army from 1976. That means almost, 48 years? It's a very long career. And I've seen so much of our life. So many soldiers have lived and died for me. But I must tell you what is the most important thing that the Indian Army gave me and why it remains the most important facet of my life. I was a very young officer. You know, I was commissioned at the age of 20. Some of you are 20 here, maybe 21. And there was this young soldier who used to look after me. As the narrator read out to you, I'm from the Gorkha Rifles. So my soldiers are from Nepal, eastern Nepal. And this young soldier's name was Dhan Bahadur Rai. He used to come from a small little district in eastern Nepal called Bhojpur. And one day I came to know that Dal Bahadur Rai had blood cancer. So as he lay dying in his hospital bed, I went to meet him. And he said, "Saab, can you do something for me?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Saab, I want you to go to my home. I want you to give this check of insurance." At that time, a young soldier got an insurance check of 75,000 rupees. I'm talking of 1981. "And please give it to my mother. Don't give it to my elder brother because he drinks and he'll drink it all away. And I want this money to be spent on the education of my nephew because he himself was not married." So I promised him. And why I'm telling you this is because you are in an educational institute and how important education is. So I asked my commanding officer, I told him about the situation. I said, "Allow me to go on leave. I want to go to Nepal and I want to meet my soldier's mother." So in December of 1981, I, along with another soldier, went to Nepal. December is a very cold month in Nepal. I think it was the 6th of December. And we were trekking because at that time there were no roads to the district of Bhojpur. So we had walked about 11 hours when we came to a river called the Arun River. Arun River is a very, if you look it up and Google it, you will see how huge this river is, very fast flowing. And it was impossible to cross at the time when we could cross. You could only cross by a boat. And unfortunately, because we had been walking 8, 9 hours, 11 hours, the Maji, the boatman, had crossed the other side and had gone away for the night. So as I stood there at about 8 p.m. In that cold December night, there was no place for us to go and sleep, to rest so that we could, cross over the next morning. I asked my soldier, I said, "Go and find out if there is any house nearby so that we can stay the night there." So he came back after about half an hour and said, "Sir, 15 minutes from here, there is one home, one house. There is a young girl, young lady. She's the mother of a 5-month child. But she's willing to allow us to stay the night there with her." So I said, "Okay, we have no option." We were carrying our sleeping bags. These huts in Nepal have one room and an outhouse for the cattle shed. So she said, "You can stay in the cattle shed." We stayed. We opened up our sleeping bags and slept for the night. And next morning when I got up, I was, as I said, 21 and a half. She was sitting on one small chair and making a garland of flowers for me. So in the morning, I went up to her and I said, "Bahini" means younger sister in Nepali. I said, "Bahini, just answer one question to me. Why did you give us permission to stay with you, two strange men? Don't you think you could have done something wrong? We could have done something wrong to you. And the answer she gave me has remained with me all my life. It has been that one motivational answer for which I always remember who I am. And she said, Daju, which is elder brother, she said, Daju, when your soldier told me you were an officer of the Indian Army, I felt God had come to my home. And gods don't do wrong things. You can imagine a 21-year-old officer realizing that you're actually a god. You're actually someone who leads men into battle. There are people who die because of what you say. So on this Kargil, Vijay, Diwas, when you look at movies like this, you must realize the kind of sacrifice that these men did for their motherland. And why it is important for each one of you to understand what you are actually doing here. Why are you here? You're here to be managers, to be leaders, but who are the leaders? Leaders are actually gods. So keep this in mind, my young friends. It's important at every part of your life to keep this one issue in your mind. What do you mean to the people you lead? I realized very early that I was a god for them and that I could not do anything wrong. That has continued with me for the last 44 years. Every time I think of doing something, I first remember her face and what she told me. So this is the first and the most important leadership lesson that was taught to me by a young girl in Nepal. I have no idea who she is. I have no idea where she is, but I only remember her because of this one statement. So let me start by telling you that I plan to speak to you about national security. What is national security? It's a nation's security. But are only soldiers responsible for the nation's security? Or are we all? Exactly. So if we all are responsible for nation security, then we must know what it actually means and what are the different kinds of national security that are there for our country and why our country needs more than anything else to be aware of the challenges that we face as a nation. So let me start this. I have recently come back from the IAS Training Academy, the Lal Bahadur Shastri Training Academy, where I spoke to IAS probationers, young people like you, middle-level IAS trains, and when after I finished, after about an hour and a half, they said, General, we didn't know all this. So I would request you, keep yourselves awake as much as you can at 5 p.m., almost 5 p.m., but let me start. You all can see the slide? The idea of using a slide, though I could well have stood there and spoken to you, is to give you an idea because there are certain lessons that I want you to carry with you. Because I have defined national security and it's important for you to understand. So what is national security? Next, national security is firstly a critical concern for every nation, including India. And India, especially given our diverse neighborhood, our geopolitical landscape, our population size, where we are, like I said, the most important thing for us to understand is where do we fit in the world and why India's national security is more important than Singapore and why we have a greater problem. Because firstly, we are a large country. Secondly, we have a large population. We have a diverse population. and we can't be slaves again. And that will depend upon all of us and how we uphold our nation's security. It's extremely important for us to know why this is important. So every nation strives to protect its values, aimed at enabling people to lead their lives. So the first aspect is, why national security? Because it allows us to live our lives, to live the way our customs and our traditions allow us to live. And why it is important that we uphold these issues, and you have, and we fight for our freedom. A stable proposed model of national security. It's an umbrella to keep away the rain. It's an umbrella that keeps away the enemies. Core values are well protected and promoted through the application of well thought out national security strategy. So when we talk of national security, you immediately look at soldiers with arms, but that's not the only thing. Each one of you are soldiers in this battle to protect ourselves. What are the elements? As I said, there's military security, there's political security, there's economic security, there's environmental security, which is extremely important for you young children, because the future ahead with global warming is going to create a very large challenge for you. We've lived our lives, we've probably 20, 30 years left, but the most important is for the years ahead for you. As I said, all those years that are behind me are the years that are ahead of you. And these are the challenges you will face to ensure that the energy, your natural resources are all kept with you for your help and for your assistance, and to ensure that you exist in this world correctly. Now let's talk of India. When you look at the map of India, what does it really tell you? Let's go from the north. Can anyone tell me the countries on our north? Very good. So there is China, that is north of Tibet, but today China occupies Tibet, right? There is Pakistan on our west. There is Bangladesh on our east. There is Afghanistan that is further northwest of Pakistan. And as you come south, you have Nepal, you have Bhutan, you have Sri Lanka, and you have Maldives. Now, as you see these countries, let me now show this to you. As you see these countries, what is the first thing that strikes you? Yeah. That all these countries that are neighboring India, less China, are actually countries that are poorer than us, where the challenges for their daily existence are greater than ours. So whether it is Pakistan, whether it is Bangladesh, whether it is Sri Lanka, whether it is Myanmar, all these countries face greater challenges. And what does that mean? It means that as India grows economically, the Indian economic miracle can get blunted by the economic illegal migration that might happen in India. And why it's important for us to understand? Because in the ultimate analysis, resources are just that much. And these resources were to be taken away, then you would have a problem, because you yourself would not exist. So this is the first concentric circle that India faces. The first issue that is important for us to understand our neighboring countries. And because we are the richest country in this place, yes, we are the richest, right? So obviously, and the other countries are all poor. They all have human challenges. They all have human problems. And we are aware of the kind of migration that is taking place into our country. And this migration will create a huge national security challenge for us. So it is not something that I am inventing. It is not something that I am saying. I am not a political person. I am a soldier. But all I can say is that as I speak to you all as young children, keep in mind the kind of challenges that you face in the future. And that doesn't mean that we become, we close every border. That doesn't mean that we become totally inward looking. No. It means that I am only enumerating for you the kind of challenges there are and why it is important for you to understand. And what happens with these countries? Firstly, we have unresolved border disputes. We have latent competitiveness between two neighbors, India and China, both emerging world powers. What does that mean for China? China feels that she is now in a league of her own. And there can be only one top dog as far as China is concerned in Asia and in this part of the world, and that is China. And if China is to be the top dog, then India can't be there. And if India can't be there, she's going to use everything in the next 2, 3, 4 decades to ensure that India does not grow. It is real. And what will she do? She uses today what we call the string of pearls. She keeps India locked into small battles that we have to fight. Whether it is with Pakistan, whether it is with Burma, whether it was with Bangladesh, whether it was Sri Lanka, whether it was Maldives, or Bhutan or Nepal. In every issue, as you see, we have disputes with these countries. And when there are disputes, what happens is that our own growth becomes fractured. Am I right? So our own growth trajectory becomes fractured. And when that becomes fractured, our economic growth slows. And when our economic growth slows, then China once again starts shining. So the ultimate analysis is that I have visited China, as you read out, I've led an Indian Army delegation to China. I spent almost a month in China. But China is very clear. China looks at dominating Asia. She looks at being the next superpower. She looks at replacing the US of A. And when you go and the best thing you can do when you go to a different country is read that country's newspapers. And you see which country figures on her front page. On China's newspapers, the front page is always the United States of America because she's competing with them. And India figures in page 14, 15, 16. Unless, of course, it's some dispute that suddenly flows up like Galwan. But the issue is that China will remain a competitor, and because she wants to be the top dog, we cannot grow. And therefore, she will involve us in all these little disputes that we have with all these other countries. I have been to Myanmar, I've been to Nepal, I was there for 3.5 years, I've been to Bhutan, I've been to Maldives, I've been to Sri Lanka. In those countries, when you go, you're on page 1. Every newspaper in all the other countries, India is on page 1. Why? They want to be like us. But in China, you're on page 14 because they don't consider you the competitor. And that is why it is important for us to understand our place. For too many years, we've been put into a small circle within South Asia. And there is time, and this is the time for us to grow. And this is the time that India must know what our future and where our future lies. What is the state of Pakistan? Yeah, anybody? What kind of state is Pakistan? Pakistan is in a state of near collapse. Am I right? But Pakistan has been in the state of near collapse for the last 30 years. Balochistan is continuously in a conflict in Pakistan. Sindh is in a conflict. Punjab is the main state of Pakistan that is holding Pakistan together. And when you have all these issues that are happening in Pakistan, and yet Pakistan is not imploding. Why? Because China is holding it together. Pakistan has no money to buy arms, ammunition, nothing. It has no industry, it has no economy, but it's being held together by China. Why? Because China wants to make sure that this continuous perennial conflict with Pakistan will keep us in one place. We will continue to fritter away our resources and will be unable to grow. Same. I have been to Myanmar. I went to Naypyidaw led the Indian delegation to a national level meeting with the generals of Naypyidaw, that is Myanmar, Burma. And Burma has the same problem. There are 14 to 15 different insurgencies that plague Burma. And those insurgencies are from both sides of the border. That means from India, the insurgents from the northeast insurgencies, as well as their own homegrown insurgencies. And this part of our country will always be in perennial conflict unless we bring it to an end. And that's something our policymakers must understand. This perennial conflict that is there is not good for anybody. Definitely not for our country, because it takes away our resources. We are forced to make more and more situations, try and help as many people as we can, but it is extremely difficult for a country to grow. Plus, Burma is also a part of the Golden Triangle, the narcotics triangle. Laos, Burma, Cambodia are all countries neighboring Burma, from where the drug trade flows into India through the northeast. I have been, as you are aware, the Director General of the Assam Rifles. And the Assam Rifles, in this one force, one border, is responsible for holding the Indo-Myanmar border. The Indo-Myanmar border is 1,776 kilometers long. There is no fence on this border. We can't build a fence. Tribes from both sides have similar ethnic similarities, and you can't divide the tribes. And therefore, we will continuously have this problem between nexus of narcotic and terrorism. It will be a continuous problem, and why it is important for us to understand that. What is the state of Bangladesh? Recently, last week, we had an internal rebellion in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is another country which is in perennial war. Sheikh Hasina has been able to control it, but the forces in Bangladesh, there is one Islamic upsurge in Bangladesh. The forces of Zia ul Haq, his wife, Begum Khalida Zia, who is always trying to move and to bring about a rebellion within Bangladesh. It's an extremely fragile country, fragile economically, diverse and fragile inside. And plus, there are these 7 million refugees from Burma, the Rohingyas, who have now taken up an island off Bangladesh where they're living, but they're also seeking a way out. And which way will they go? No guesses. They would love to come to our country to try and at least start doing something. But in each point, when you draw your line and when you look at that line that I told you, you will find a great deal of internal dissonance. You have Nepal, where over the last 5 years as the 17th Prime Minister, Oli, who's a communist, whose sole aim is to create a problem for India. And being a communist, he goes to China first. Nepal is important for us because Nepal is on the Indo-Gangetic plain. The soul of our country is the Indo-Gangetic plain. That is from where our country started. And over the Indo-Gangetic plain is where Nepal is located. All Nepal's waters flow into India. All the rivers of Nepal flow into India. Nepal is our upper riparian. Nepal in China or Tibet is our upper riparian. If someone was to control Nepal's waters, you can imagine what happens to our country. Similarly, during flooding season, our rivers, especially in eastern Bihar, is the river Kosi, which is the river of sorrow, which continuously every year brings about floods. So Nepal is in a continuous process, continuous situation of political instability. Once again, what are India's options? Do we help Nepal? Do we not help Nepal? If we help them, how much to help them? Because they're not helping themselves. So what are our options with Myanmar or Burma? What are our options with Nepal? What are our options with Sri Lanka? What are our options with Malay? These are the kind of security challenges that exist for our country. And why it is important for us to ensure that we have governments that support us in these countries, so that we are able to help them economically and yet prevent their population from coming inside our country. I hope you understand all that. Yeah? Okay. Any questions till now? In Malay, recently we had a government change. The new president is pro-China. Malay is on the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is where 99% of the trade, sea trade for India comes through the Indian Ocean. We are the only country in the world that has an ocean named after us. Am I right? And that China doesn't like. So China has been trying her best to move out from the South China Sea and to come to start dominating the Indian Ocean. And for this, she has looked at 3 countries, or rather 4. The first is Burma or Myanmar. The second is Malay. The third is Sri Lanka. And the fourth is the Gwadar port in Pakistan. So if you look at all these issues on a map, you will find that from all sides, they surround India. And because if China can place her navy in these 4 areas, pre-place her navy, India would find it very difficult to do what we call the freedom of the seas. Because our trade comes from there. And any stoppage of that trade will be an act of war. Let me go forward. So now that we've seen South Asia, let's now look at it from a slightly larger point of view. That's India. It's a smaller scale. There is a larger globe. And let's see the countries in the middle of the second concentric circle. And let's see how they would help us. Yeah, this is the concentric globe. Yeah, can anyone tell me the countries on this? Yeah, come. Speak up, yeah. You can see it on the map. Yeah. Stand up, stand up. Yeah. Okay. So which of these countries are doing well? Iran is in a perpetual conflict. There is West Asia that is in a perpetual conflict. So which of these countries are doing well? So there are issues even in the concentric circle, the second concentric circle. Can you hear me? Yeah. Very good, very good. So when you look at all these countries, once again, you find that in the second concentric circle, maybe India is still doing the best. Am I right? So once again, the challenges come from there. Where are they looking at? Which country is the economic miracle? Which country feels that it will grow the best? And why there will be continuous conflict? And why this conflict will continue to deter us from growing? And that's why when I speak about India and I speak about our location in the world, please keep in mind these two concentric circles. Because they will tell you where our enemies are, where our friends are. And remember the old saying, a neighbor's neighbor is always a friend. Therefore, Afghanistan is our friend. Therefore, Persia or Iran is our friend. Therefore, the Central Asian republics, which is our neighbor's neighbor, are our friends. Because they have their own dissonance and problems with our neighbors. So when you look at the larger perspectives of international relations, there are two issues that are most important. First is, there are only national interests. There are no national friends. And secondly, a neighbor's neighbor will invariably be your friend because you will be in perpetual conflict with your neighbor. And that is exactly what is happening to India. So in the South Asia-centric world, what do you see? You see India, largest economies, highest economic growth rates, large markets and human resources. 3 out of 8 of the nuclear weapon states are in Asia. 3 out of 8. Area of the highest WMD. Can anyone tell me what WMD is? Yeah, weapons of mass destruction. So the maximum proliferation of weapons of mass destruction that is going to cause the largest problems for us are in Asia. Near total dependence on energy. West Asia has the oil, South Asia has nothing. Unfortunately, when God was dishing out oil and petroleum products, He forgot about South Asia. So He has given power in the hands of people who probably are not that friendly to us. So once again, there will be a perpetual problem when we deal with countries who have something and we don't have that. We have plenty of sunlight, we have plenty of wind, we have plenty of water, but yet we can become a water scarce nation. Why? Because our upper riparian countries, China and Nepal, could deny us our flow of water. I was talking about the sea lanes. Let me sort of define them for you. Yeah. These are our sea lanes. These are our threats, our nuclear threats, our missile threats, our failed oblique failing states, cross-border terrorism, potential threat of terrorism, illegal migration, insurgency affected areas, and of course the Maoist threat. All these issues we and now you have to solve. Every part of this is contextually true. We have to solve it because our population depends, our integration as a nation depends on the solving these issues. And that is why it is important for all you young children to understand that unless we sort out these problems, and force is not the way you sort them out, you have to use a great deal of persuasion to get the marginal communities into the mainstream of India. So these are the challenges to the external security of India. The development of the Middle East is always going to be a problem. Threats from cyberspace, militarization of space, maritime security, the China-Pakistan nexus, the challenging from neighboring states, the cross-border threat, and finally the competition for scarce resources. So when you look at all these things, you must keep in mind that while we are an economic miracle, we are obviously a country that is doing well, but these are the factors that will slow us down. And like I said, force is not the issue, knowledge is. So unless you have the knowledge that we have to do something about it, find solutions to all these problems, we will be in perpetual conflict. I have spent 44 years of my life in conflict, fighting conflicts, resolving conflicts. I am the person who made the Naga insurgent groups sign ceasefires. Today, Nagaland is at peace. Despite Manipur not being at peace, Nagaland is at peace. Because none of the 4 insurgent groups that signed the ceasefire with me have broken the ceasefire. So the only way we can resolve issues is through persuasion, through guiding them, through telling them that their future generations deserve a future. That's what I told the Naga insurgent groups, that your future generations deserve a future. Think of your grandchildren. They should not be in perpetual conflict. So similarly, I tell you, my young friends, that when you're looking at a future for India, a country that is ours and for which we stand up and sing our national anthem, we must keep in mind the kind of challenges that exist for us. They say knowledge is power. And that indeed, giving you this knowledge gives you the power to have amongst you people who will resolve these issues. I have given you an idea of our external security threats. Let me give you an idea of our internal security threats. You have Naxalism, you have hinterland states, you have Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh. Again, force is not going to be the answer. How am I for time, Vice Chancellor? It's okay? Okay, I'll take 10 more minutes. So, I have explained to you over the last 40 minutes or how important it is for us to understand our threats and why national security cannot be a soldier's problem alone. It is everybody's. When we use our resources, we have to realize what resources we are using, where are these resources going, and why we cannot be in perpetual conflict with everybody. That is the most important thing. This perpetual conflict is what will ruin us. We can't have our country divided again. We have to be one single country. I spoke to you about the sea lanes. These are important factors that you must understand. where our trade comes from, where our competition comes from, and why it is important for us to continuously be aware of these problems. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions till now? Yeah. Any questions? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. I'm Bobby Bajaj, a student manager of BIIB. My question to you is, sir, last year, 3 students from Ramaiah College, Bangalore were arrested by NIA, and they were the sleeper cells of Lashkar-e-Taiba. So, in our country, the problem is, sir, we are not facing the external, the more is the inside. And so how will the Indian government will do something to provide the security and make people aware so that if you see in US, sir, if there is something threat, the people have the number of FBI, they can easily contact. But in India, we do not have any such kind of thing. People in India are only afraid to talk to police. So how we will develop the national security?
Firstly, the whole premise is that how will the government protect you? Let's look at the way how will we protect ourselves. If Lashkar-e-Taiba is in a couple of colleges, I'm certain the students of that college would have known something is wrong. And we may not have FBI, but we have the National Investigative Agency, the NIA. We have anybody. You don't just have to go to the police. The issue is, when people like me come to speak to you, we don't want you to understand, we want you to understand that we have threats as a nation. It's important for all of us to be a part, all of you are soldiers that deal with these threats. It's important for you to understand who's doing wrong and who's doing right. And why knowing this knowledge will empower all of us as a nation. So, just as you quoted America, let me quote John F. Kennedy. Don't look for what your country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. And if you are able to identify that somebody is doing something wrong, because the number of eyes that we all have together increase exponentially. I hope I've answered your question. Yeah, anybody else? Now the important factor is that, the years after the Second World War, what were the years after the Second World War? They became one global power, right? That was the United States of America. And the second global power was the Soviet Union. But slowly, as time passed, the Soviet Union broke up in 89-90 into smaller countries. So America became the sole superpower. After 5 failed wars, America today finds that it is losing this battle of being the sole superpower. And if America loses this battle, what happens is, who is going to take this mantle of the sole superpower? China. And till now in history, there has never been an occasion when a country has become a sole superpower without violence and without war. So as this context, the contest between the USA and China strengthens, be sure that there will be violence along with it. Whose side will we be? Do we need to be on sides? Can we be alone? Can we fight this world alone? Do we need alliances? Recently, you saw our Prime Minister went to Russia, right? And he hugged President Putin. What was the American reaction? The American ambassador says that alliances are important and we need to understand alliances. So if India is going to be on the side of the USA, then our Prime Minister cannot be hugging the Russian Prime Minister, Russian President. So we will continuously face these issues. We will have to deal with issues like foreign policy. We will have to deal with global competitiveness. And you, as as students of international relations, as students of the future of our country, must understand this. At no stage should we be looking inward. All our life, when I was growing up in the mid-60s, early 70s, India barely had any money. Our economy was always very poor. But today, our country is developing. And as we develop, we will find that our national security will be continuously contested. The space that we have to grow will be contested. The Indian Ocean, which is the India's ocean, will be contested by many countries. India's 200-kilometer economic zone will be contested. India's freedom to her seas will be contested. And as this contest grows, thank you, beta, thank you. As this contest grows, we will need people like you, people with knowledge, people with experience, people with empathy, people who will look for the future of our country, who will come up and resolve this, because you are the future. You are the leaders of tomorrow's India. Choose wisely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your insights on national security were incredibly enlightening and thought-provoking. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and providing such clarity on such a critical issue. Listening to your insightful and moving session on the Silver Jubilee of the Kargil War, we are reminded of the unwavering bravery and sacrifices of our armed forces. Your dedication to our country's security is deeply appreciated. Now, the house is open for questions.
Energetic. And even I learned so many things.
Thank you.
I am a student of economics. First time I learned that this is what trade speaking
Come. Yeah, any questions? Your Vice Chancellor is with me. He'll help me out.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm student manager Rebecca Anthony from BITM.
Yeah,
Sir,
Rebecca.
my question to you would be, sir, even though we try to cut down the roots of dispute, yet somehow, somewhere, a fruit of dispute really pops up. So, sir, how do we bring this permanent end to this long list of disputes? Because sometimes there's no fear, then there's no violence, and no violence, then there's no fear. And when there's no fear, then nobody wants to actually remain peaceful. So, sir, though that is the goal, to remain peaceful, how do we come back to that, sir?
Thank you, Rebecca. Let me answer this question with a small incident that happened with me. In 2018, I had just retired from the Indian Army, and the government of India asked me to go to Nagaland to solve the 70 years insurgency that had been going on. So when I met the head of the Naga insurgents, there are 4 groups, the National Socialist Council of Nagaland, I met the head, a person called Muiwa, Thankolong Muiwa, and the head of his army called Anthony. So I sat down with Anthony. Anthony tells me, I hate Indian Army generals. I said, okay, that's a good start. I also hate the government of India. And we don't owe allegiance to the Constitution of India. So I started from there in August 2018 when I sat with them and I discussed the issues. And we sorted out, I asked him, I said, who's the government of India? Can you define the government of India? Is it Prime Minister Modi? Or is it me that I represent the government of India with you? And who are the Indian Army generals? It's me, right? So do you hate me? He said, no, sir. Then I said, who do you hate? So when you're talking to people who have a grouse and who are fighting 70 years, they've been fighting us. We've not been able to quell this insurgency. But I only decided on two things with him. One, that I will be always truthful to him. And secondly, at no point will I say that I am bigger and greater than you. And after 2 years, when I was leaving, 2.5 years, he came up and said, "Sir, don't leave me. You are my elder brother. You have helped us fight and understand the problems that exist." Because at each point when Anthony would say something and I would say, "Okay, don't argue with me, come home, have a drink with me, have lunch. I am your friend." Every dispute, Rebecca, can be answered and can be solved, provided you don't think you're bigger than the other man. And the same way, when you look at Nepal, and I have written a book on Nepal, you look at Bhutan, there are small countries. If you go to Nepal, Kathmandu is like one small it's smaller than Pune, which is a tier 2 city. There is this huge country in front of them. And Nepal, on its foreign policy, when you go to their foreign ministry, has written that Nepal is a yam between two boulders, the kingdom of the south, that is India, and the kingdom of the north, that is China. Once you understand Nepal's insecurities, that's the point at which you can start. Similarly with Bhutan, similarly with Mali, similarly with Sri Lanka. When I went to Burma, Myanmar, they're only afraid of what will happen to them. And there is this huge country like China taking advantage. China is arming both the rebels and the Burmese army. So there are these issues that why I'm saying that you have to resolve it is that everyone cannot be your enemy. If everyone's your enemy, then you have not done anything. So to end this point is when you have a dispute, find out the reasons why he hates. What is the hate? Why is the hate there? And if the hate is something you can resolve, it is easier for you. Okay? Cheers. Yeah. Cheers. One more question? Okay. Yeah. Good evening.
Welcome to Balaji.
Thank you.
So my name is Ganraj Mane from IB Finance. So my question is that if we keep on competing with China, today most of the Indian economy is based on Chinese economy. We are mostly based on raw materials on China. So if we keep on competing, don't you think that it would be blunder on the economy? It would raise the cost of production in terms of Indian manufacture?
Thank you, beta. The issue is that we're not competing. Actually, it's the other way around. China is not letting us grow. How? I explained to you that Pakistan has no economy. There's almost a total rebellion inside Pakistan. But yet Pakistan continues to send terrorists into our country. It continues to engage our army. It continues to carry out situations like Kargil. Why? It forces us to deploy the Indian army in places that we don't need to deploy. It takes away our resources. Today we hold Kargil in winter and summer. Holding Kargil posts in winter means that we spend 10 times more the money that we were spending earlier only holding it in summer. So by forcing us to shift our very, very scarce resources to protect what we feel is a problem with Pakistan, China has achieved the fact that India cannot grow. Have you understood? It does the same thing with Malay. It does the same thing with Nepal. It does the same thing with Sri Lanka. It's trying to do the same thing with Bhutan. It does the same thing with Burma. We are in perpetual conflict. Each country that is on our neighborhood, and that's why I took a lot of time explaining our neighborhood to you, is in conflict themselves. So it is important for us to understand these conflicts and not become a victim of them, and resolve our disputes with these countries. And this is what I told the Home Minister, this is what I've told everybody, that resolve your disputes. Don't let the disputes continue, because disputes that continue create a larger problem for you later on. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
So, good evening, sir. I am Harsimran Kaur, and since we know that there is a change in the regular regime of the Indian Army to induct the soldiers through Agnipath scheme, and it was in news last year that the Nepalis who are joining the Gorkha regiment of the Indian Army, they are slowly shifting towards China, since China has proposed them to join the PLA. So my question is that, yes, of course, it is going to affect the strength of the Indian Army, and of course, Gorkha Rifles is one of the elite regiment of the Indian Army. So according to you, is this news actually correct, and how badly could it affect India?
Okay. Firstly, has anyone gone to Nepal out of you all? Okay. If you've gone to Nepal and you come down, supposing you come by road, is there a border fence between us and Nepal? It's an open border. So if PLA troops were to get into China, get into Nepal, what would happen to India? It would be very difficult for us to defend. Am I right? So Nepal has to understand that it is a part of our security system. And that is why taking Nepali soldiers or taking soldiers from Nepal is a force multiplier for India. Because these soldiers form the bulwark of preventing inimical activities happening in Nepal. Today we have 128,000 pensioners in Nepal. 128,000. Where every year India pays pension of 4,000 plus crores, which I as a defense attaché used to pay by hand to them. It was important because in a family of 10, with the pensioner supporting a family of 10, we had, if you multiply this, there were 12 lakh people dependent on India who had value for India. And that is why with this Agnipath scheme and with Nepal stopping Nepal has stopped it, not us, it will create a problem for India. And I'm hoping the government understands. They have said, we have met the defense minister, he has said that he is willing to accept some change. We hope it will happen. But yes, if Nepalis start joining the PLA, it will be disaster. As far as the Gorkha Rifles is concerned, I am from the Gorkha Rifles. We have enough Gorkha population in India, in Dehradun, in Darjeeling, in Siliguri, in Dharamshala, whereby we can get our annual 16 to 20,000 soldiers that we get annually. We used to recruit over 1,000 soldiers per year from Nepal. We can get those 1,000 soldiers from India, not a problem. But getting Nepalis meant a different process. So that's why it's important. Personally, I don't think many Nepalis will go to China, personally. But if it is money that they're looking for, and they are looking for a livelihood, they might start accepting after a while if this dispute continues. And that's why we are requesting the government to continuously to change this one point of theirs.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm student manager Sneha Rai. We see that every month there are attacks in the region of Jammu and Kashmir. And everyone knows that these terrorists are nurtured in the grounds of Pakistan, which is fed by China and US. And also there are people sitting in our country who are working against India. So what do you think about those peoples, and what could we do about it, about them?
Firstly, beta, remember that in a large country like ours, we will have problems. So we must not let these problems become too large for us. There have been over the years, over the last 3 months, almost 11 attacks in the Jammu region, not so much in the valley, but in the Jammu region. The reason is that we moved a large number of troops from Jammu and took them to Ladakh to mirror the Chinese deployment there, because China had started amassing troops on our Ladakh border, so we had to move these troops there. And therefore, certain gaps were created in the Jammu region, which the Pakistanis have taken advantage of. One reason is that China has told them to do that, so that the forces that have gone in Ladakh will be brought back. That will force us to deploy these forces in the Jammu region and reduce the number of troops that we have in Ladakh. That could be one reason. The second reason is that since 1989, and I have been in Kashmir since 1989, we have been fighting this terrorism in Pakistan. We have brought it to almost zero. Right? At one time, during the summer months, we used to have 100 terrorists, 100 plus terrorists killed. Today, we are killing 20, 25 encounters in maybe 6 months. So it is reduced. Pakistan is being made use of by China, but because the Pakistan elite has decided to take money from them and then sending us this unwanted guests into India, which we will have to keep fighting. We will have to keep making sure. We built a fence, we put troops there, but human nature and human capabilities are such that no kind of fence actually will stop humans from crossing over. I have personally taken a delegation to Israel. I was with the Gaza Divisional Commander in 2012, spent a week with him. I saw for myself how they had made the fence in the Gaza Division and how they created with great technology this beautiful fence. But it was breached by the Palestinians, right? Because eventually internal vigilance is the only answer. You have to protect yourself. So Israelis forgot that protecting themselves meant putting troops there. In 2012, they had a lot of troops on the border. They were very alert. But in 2024, I felt, had lost the alertness. And therefore, they suffered this issue. And that is one thing that we keep telling our leaders of the army today, or of security forces, that eternal vigilance, continued vigilance has to be done to prevent us from suffering the way the Israelis suffered. Okay? But Pakistan is too small a country to be a threat to us. She can only do this, pinpricks in certain places. We should not be worried about Pakistan. If we are to fight the next war, it will be with China. And that is where the difference in the kind of capabilities will come out. So we have to be careful to avoid war for the next 10 years, 15 years, till we grow ourselves and are able to compete with China on an economic basis. So that is our advice to the government of India: avoid war as much as we can, avoid war, get the nations together, grow yourself till we are strong and powerful enough to take on the powers that might create a problem for India. Okay?
Due to scarcity of time, we will close the house with one last question.
Last question? Okay.
Just one
Yeah.
last question.
Yeah. One question. Let this lady have it. They have to have the last word. Yeah.
So, as our technology is advancing day by day, there is a threat of technological advancement as well in terms of terrorist attacks. For example, we have got a online threat via email.
It's getting cut. It's getting cut. I haven't heard.
So, for example, sir, there was a threat of bomb in a school in Bangalore, which caused a lot of stir in the organization itself. So, what can be done, or what can we do on our levels to prevent it?
So, I said eternal vigilance. Okay, you see somebody's backpack lying somewhere. That could be a bomb. You see somebody's suitcase lying somewhere. That could be a bomb. We have suffered this in Bombay, the Bombay attacks. We've seen in so many places terrorists using this on unsuspecting citizens. It's important for our citizens to understand that there are no free lunches. If somebody has dropped a backpack, it could well be a bomb, and therefore we must make sure that we have tell the right kind of people, get the police, get the bomb squad, get it blasted. So eventually our security depends upon ourselves. Eternal vigilance is the only way we can. And you, the future of the country, you're going to make sure that we develop the kind of technology to ensure that these threats don't affect us. But even if something happens, we as a nation are strong enough to take it on. And we as a nation should not break or should not find another community and make them the victim of our insecurities. Eventually, we all have to exist as a nation. So we can't have internal enemies. Externally, as it is, we have a problem. We can't create more internal enemies. Okay? Yeah. One more?
Hello, sir. So my name is Jigar Pujara from BIIB, a junior student manager from BIIB. So my question is, as you mentioned about regional security environment, China is trading or planning to take over Maldives from the perspective of geopolitics. So sir, how can we look forward to it in the near future when we look the southern part of India, like in specifically speaking about the Indian Ocean?
So, firstly, China cannot take over Maldives. China can place troops in Maldives. I don't know if you've been there. I have gone in an Indian Army delegation to Maldives. And we have spoken to the Maldivian Army. The Maldives are very independent thinking people. They will not allow China to take them over. That you should be clear about. They will take their help, allow some ships to be there that keep a vigilance on India's movement and shipping, but they will not be taken over. But if supposing China does that, it is a very major problem for India because it is in our shipping lanes. Similarly, Sri Lanka, they have taken the port of Hambantota, they are building the port of Colombo. So every issue, as I explained to you, has a final puppeter somewhere else. The puppet master is China, playing this game continuously with us, keeping us involved while she grows. It is basically to prevent us from growing. So we have to be also smart enough to deal with the President Muizo or whoever president, whichever leader comes into Maldives, to make sure that our core national interests are not affected. After all, Maldives is much closer to us than to China. Eventually, we are the first responders. There was an earthquake in Nepal, India was the first responder, right? If there's a problem tomorrow, there's a tsunami in Maldives, India has to be the first responder. It cannot be China. She's very, very far away. So these are the truths that we have to tell these countries, that we are the country that can save you, not anyone else.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for those insightful questions. May I now invite our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. G.K. Shirode, sir, to felicitate our guest of honor, with a token of appreciation.
I will call these 3 stars. Aye upar. They have designed the logo
Okay.
of DDSS, Department of Defense Strategy Center, and the colors and the meaning which they have defined. The
Okay.
credit goes to them.
Okay.
They will go ahead. Sanjit Das aye.
All right.
Hello. I will not take more than half minute. Why I have called these 3 people? See the logo which we have designed. The credit goes to the head, but at the same time, colors and their meaning, specific meaning, which you must have read it. So they have been very intelligently, very patiently, they have designed it. That's why and that will be a permanent, try to understand, when we have a specific logo, it is permanent, constant. Okay? So you deserve a huge pat on your back. And now, I request them to offer this Saraswati as well as the Ocean of Knowledge books to Lieutenant General Dr. Chauhan.
May I now call upon our student manager, Mr. Vaibhav Bansode, to put forward the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Sri Balaji University, Pune, I, Vaibhav Bansode, student manager at Balaji Institute of Technology and Management, extend my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to our honorable guest, Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Yuddha Seva Medal, Sena Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, retired, for gracing us with your presence today. Under your guidance, our forces have achieved significant milestones, navigated complex challenges, and stood resilient in the face of adversity. You are an embodiment of leadership, lived by Naam Namak Nishan. Sir, it is your integrity and selfless service to the nation which truly sets you apart. Your dedication to nation's defense has been noteworthy. Allow me to underscore the salient insights from the enlightening session. We are all soldiers in upholding India's security, the politically and economically unstable neighbors, the concentric circle where India is shining bright. There is only national interest, not national friends. Peace lies in persuasion. In-depth insights of external and internal threats to India. So your presence today has enriched our lives, and your words will resonate with us as we continue our endeavors to become more responsible citizens. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you all for joining us today as we extend our sincere gratitude. Thank you all for joining us